So public parcel lockers or micro-residential parcel lockers? What will market choose? Let's find out.
Christian, what I observe, especially in Central Europe, Nordic countries, China, big boom for public parcel lockers. For example, in Poland, half of the volume moved to parcel lockers, so it is the strongest trend on the market. However, when I talk with operators in countries where parcel lockers are not so popular, they have a lot of doubts. They talk about potential small lockers which you can put inside the buildings, and they are much more convenient. You don't need to go somewhere. The locker is inside. You pick up your parcel from the locker, so not from the door, but from the locker inside the building. So two different technologies. One is adopting very fast. About the second one, a lot of operators talk. What do you think? Can it be game changer?
No, I don't think so. Honestly, I don't think so. I think it ends up many times in a question about who's going to pay these things, especially when you have the small ones. You can look into Switzerland. They had it from the beginning because their letter structures actually demanded that everybody had a letter locker, which actually was a certain size, which actually made them like the thing that you're requesting. That's probably the only place where I know that they have something like that. But that was driven by, I think, by probably the cantons or whatever who was driving this, that they had this opportunity. I think we tried many times across Europe to do home lockers or community lockers, as you call them. There's been ownership questions also about if you live in an apartment building, who should finance this. I've seen that. I've seen that the discussion always ends up in a cost part. It's also one other thing is that when you talk about as an operator, the small lockers are almost as expensive as a home delivery, because you know that if you have 6, 10, 15 people living in an entrance in an apartment, you know how many of them are actually receiving a parcel that day. So it's also a question about that. Yes, from an operator's point, it's not really that more efficient, but maybe it's more convenient for the end user. But then the end user should finance it, and it always ends up in that discussion. But that's what I've seen so far.
I still I was thinking about the convenience, and maybe the someone who will find a way how to finance it will have real disruptor, not only classic door delivery but also disruptor of public parcel lockers, because it's more convenient for sure. You don't need to go somewhere. I live in Dubai. I know that in the summer to leave a house and to really walk even 5 minutes is really challenge. So I will have something inside my apartment or inside the tower. It's much more convenient for me. So maybe it's only question about financing. If we finance it,
Yeah, but I think it's also a question about where you live and what kind of service you have in the area. I can tell you, I live in an apartment building in the middle of Copenhagen. I have always talked to my neighbors about parcel deliveries, and I asked them, should I put up a locker in the near vicinity from them, and they say no. I have a perfect router point, they say, which is 75 meters from our house. And that router point is servicing everybody. It's like it's servicing, every vendor can go there and deliver their parcels. They have no interest in having a locker as a part of their design in the building. So I think it's also about, what is your, what are the conditions? And I can, of course, understand that when you have 45 degrees in Dubai, that you don't want to leave. But I guess also that we had discussions in Stockholm. We discussed quite a lot with the real estate owners, because you have some really big real estate groups owners, and they wanted to actually take control over that delivery point, because they wanted to control also who was coming into the building and out of the building. I think that that got disrupted also now by all the food deliveries, because they get access to the buildings in a different way than people had access to the buildings before. So I think it's pretty much something that is very dependent on where you live and what your ability is to finance these things.
I see also one more aspect, because the delivery to public parcel lockers is much more cost effective for the operators. So for them, its density of the delivery number of parcel per stop is much higher. So it means that cost of the stop is much lower per parcel. And if we move to this very convenient, I still believe in very convenient micro parcel lockers in the buildings. It would be almost similar like door-to-door delivery. Cost of the delivery would be high because we still need to do all these stops around, and for operators it will be more expensive. And anyway, maybe someone who decide finance it, like postal operator, like I had, for example, in the Middle East, to finance from the public money or postal public money. These micro operators may still win the game.
I don't know if they will win the game, but I think that they can be a part. I'm very obsessed about the end consumers' convenience, because convenience is going to drive the future, especially when we come into agentic AI in the customer ordering. So of course, it's what is fitting for the end consumer will always have an importance, and that's something that you will look at. But I know that if you are going to refinance an infrastructure to do delivery, which is the same cost as a home delivery, you really need to get some financing behind, or you need to have maybe some of these Middle East operators who are extremely focused on the consumer service. I think that is probably something we see. But if you can't afford that, you will never go in and support something that is just as costly as a home delivery. I don't believe that. I don't think that anybody has the funding for it. We know that even the locker structures are quite costly to operate, and today we are not really getting into the capacity. The utilization models are not that good. End consumers are still, maybe not in Poland or in the Baltic, but other places, people are not picking up their parcel in the first 24 hours anyway. So it becomes quite an expensive network to operate.
So probably there are two alternative solutions. One is to find financing for these micro lockers, and maybe if you find financing, it will change the competition. Or another thing, I think, is that put the public parcel locker closer to the recipients. So it, as you said, with your neighbors and Pudo, if it will be few meters from your home, it may not be barrier at all.
I think, Greg, that the slipper distance, which we talk very much about in Central Europe, I think it was bpost that brought that onto the agenda back in the days. I think that it has really an impact. We did the same examination in the Stockholm area, where we interviewed a lot of people, and we saw that also based on the data that you need to get down to under 250 meters to get that thing working. I think that from a real estate point, if you're building buildings now, if you are redesigning your building, I think that you should think these things in, because you still want to give the best experience for the homeowners who are in these buildings. It's a question about just thinking about how things will work in the future. I think that there we have the biggest possibility is to actually think it in when we design the houses, and I think that is where maybe we should put an effort into the dialogue, is to talk to the building constructors and say, okay, fine, do you want to build up a very convenient home for your renters or whatever they are? Then you should think these things in. I think that is a very much better valid point.
So there is also a role for real estate companies and construction companies on this ground. Thank you.